In a quiet village surrounded by tall trees and blooming flowers, there lived an old man named Henry. He was a kind soul with silver hair and hands roughened by years of hard work. The villagers respected him, not just for his wisdom, but for the beautiful garden he had grown over the years. This garden was his pride and joy, filled with every kind of flower and plant imaginable, and people often came from far away just to see it. One sunny afternoon, as Henry sat on his porch, a group of children gathered around him. They loved listening to his stories, and today was no different. With eager eyes and wide smiles, they waited for him to speak. "Grandpa Henry," one of the children asked, "how did you make your garden so beautiful? And what's the most important thing you've learned from taking care of it?" Henry smiled, his eyes twinkling like the dew on the morning grass. He leaned forward in his chair, resting his hands on his knees as he began his story. "Ah, my dear children," he said, his voice warm and gentle, "let me tell you a story about this very garden. You see, it wasn't always this way. In fact, there was a time when it was nothing more than a patch of dry, barren soil. But it was through my mistakes that I learned the most important lesson of my life." The children leaned in closer, eager to hear more. "Many years ago, when I first started this garden, I was impatient," Henry began. "I wanted to see flowers bloom right away, so I planted all kinds of seeds without really thinking about what they needed. I didn't pay attention to the soil, the sunlight, or the water. I just wanted a beautiful garden as quickly as possible." He paused, his face softening as he recalled those early days. But as time passed, nothing grew. The seeds didn't sprout, and the ones that did were weak and soon withered away. I was frustrated and disappointed. I thought about giving up, thinking maybe I just wasn't meant to be a gardener. The children frowned, feeling sad for Henry's early struggles. One day, after a particularly bad season, I sat down in the middle of this empty garden and started to reflect on what went wrong. That's when I realized something important. I had been too focused on the end result, on having a beautiful garden right away, without taking the time to understand the process. I hadn't given the plants what they needed to grow strong and healthy. Henry smiled, looking at the children who were hanging on his every word. So I decided to try again, but this time I did things differently. I learned about the different kinds of soil, how much water each plant needed, and which plants needed more sunlight. I started small, planting just a few seeds at a time and giving them the care and attention they needed. Slowly but surely, the garden began to grow. The children's faces brightened, imagining the once barren patch of land transforming into the vibrant garden they now saw. But even then, Henry continued, there were setbacks. Some plants didn't grow as I'd hoped, and I had to make changes along the way. But instead of getting upset or regretting my mistakes, I learned from them. I realized that each mistake was teaching me something important about the plants and about myself. He paused, letting his words sink in. "And that's the lesson I want to share with you today, my dear children," Henry said, his voice filled with warmth. "In life, you will make mistakes. You might plant your seeds too soon or forget to water them, and things might not always turn out the way you expect. But don't let those mistakes fill you with regret. Instead, see them as opportunities to learn and grow. Because just like in this garden, it's not about how quickly you reach your goal, but about how much you grow along the way." The children nodded, understanding the deeper meaning of his words. "And remember," Henry added with a gentle smile, "every mistake is like a seed. If you nurture it with care and learn from it, it can grow into something beautiful, something that adds to the richness of your life. So go out and plant your seeds, make your mistakes, but never regret them. Learn from them and watch your own gardens bloom." The sun began to set, casting a warm glow over Henry's garden, and the children left with a newfound understanding in their hearts. They knew that in their own lives, they would face challenges and make mistakes. But now, thanks to Grandpa Henry, they understood that each mistake was just a stepping stone on the path to something greater. As they walked home, they carried with them the wisdom of the garden of no regrets, a lesson they would hold in their hearts forever.